So today we're going to do a quick review of hyperbolas, another conic section. As you can see, the standard format is very similar to ellipses, so you have to be careful. But this is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared, and always equal to 1. So the definition from the book is a hyperbola is a set of points. We call those points P. The points P are on the hyperbola. And the absolute value of the difference between the distances from P to the foci is a constant number, and we refer to that as K. Here is a diagram. I know it's rather complex, but let's take a minute to dissect it. We have our coordinate plane, y and x. Here's the hyperbola. Here the intersecting points are the vertices, and half the distance between the vertices is where the center is. Here are the foci, F1 and F2, and here's where the definition comes in. This distance minus this distance, the absolute value is always this constant K. So the distance here between the two vertices has a name, and it's called the transverse axis. Again, we have vertices. The vertices are at a, 0 and negative a, 0. And then we have the dashed teal color lines are the asymptotes that allow us to and aid us in actually graphing the asymptotes. And here are the slopes. We have y equals b over a x, and then we have negative y equals negative b over a x. And we'll talk about where a is. Well, a is here. We'll talk about b in a minute. So here's a diagram of a vertical hyperbola. Same parts as earlier. We have the vertices, which are at the intersecting points. The center is in between, in the middle of the vertices. We have foci F1, F2. The thing to notice that's important is this one is y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared. Again, a being along the transverse axis, and the transverse axis being between the vertices. So now we want to graph a hyperbola, and here's the equation we want to graph. 9x squared minus 25y squared equals 225. First thing we need to do is transform it into standard format, and we're going to do that by making sure we have 1 on the right side of the equal sign, and we do that by dividing by 225. So 9x squared over 225 minus 25y squared over 225 equals 1. So we end up with x squared over 25 minus y squared over 9 equals 1. So earlier, from our standard format, we know that this is a squared and this is b squared. So if this is a squared, what does a equal? A equals 5. This is b squared. What does b equal? B equals 3. And we're going to need that information to actually draw. So here's our a, and these are the vertices. So I'm going to go ahead and locate my vertices. The next thing I need to do is I'm going to use something called a central rectangle, and for the central rectangle I need B, which we found. So B is going to actually give me these other coordinates. So I now have a rectangle, and with that rectangle I'm going to be able to draw my asymptotes. Asymptotes go directly through the corners. So now with my asymptotes and my vertices, I can go just